This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
And welcome back to the Skating Penguin Network, everyone. It is Monday, August 12th, and we are back with a new mailbag episode with a fresh set of questions. I'm Robbie, once again, joined across the mic by Snail in Seattle. And Snail, it's been a week since we talked. How are things going out there in the Northwest?
Oh, things are all right. Busy with the things that I feel like I talk about most of the time on here, work, just life in general. Robbie, the older we get, just life, just always, there's always some shit going on in life. You know what I mean? The older you get, it just seems like there's always something. When you're Whoops, bumped my thing. How are things out in Western PA?
Good. The weather's cooled down a bit. It's been about 4 or 5 days in a row now of more mid-70s than the blazing heat that we've been dealing with. We had the remnants of that hurricane roll through, so we got some rain, and a new front came in, so it's a little cooler. It's about perfect, about 75, sunny, no humidity. It's been about pristine weather out here the last few days, so hoping, fingers crossed, that continues as we now this week approach mid-August on the calendar. So
summer's almost over.
Going by quick. It's summer. I consider summer over on September 1st. So
me too.
And we can get some heat. We can definitely get some hot weather between now and then. But I consider summer over on September 1st. I consider that the beginning of fall, much like I consider December 1st the beginning of winter. Really. So. I consider that like March 1st, then the beginning of spring, and kind of June 1st, the beginning of summer. So kind of, I know those aren't the exact dates, but those are kind of the benchmarks for me in my mind of when, at the very least, you're turning a corner, even if you can get some iffy weather that isn't exactly seasonal between then. But we're heading to the beach in September, so that will be
Carolina.
Kind of like we're heading to Carolina, North Carolina. To kind of close out the actual summer. So looking forward to that. But other than that, ready to take some questions. And we got a bunch from Brian this week. So we'll get that started now.
I'll kick us off here. Thank you again, Brian, for the contributions. I really appreciate it. And he asks here, this is a great question. And this is like one of those questions that's like, it's kind of going to be a backhanded compliment no matter what you say. But so I'm interested to see what Robbie's answer is for this. But he asks, which player has the most overrated career in NHL history?
Yeah, like Snell said, a great question because there's so many names that pop into mind. You don't like, you feel like you're being mean, but you're probably really not. I mean, because you can have a great player that maybe is a little bit overrated as well. So the answer is clearly Alex Ovechkin, goal merchant, not a team player. No. Man, I feel like you could easily go through goaltenders here, because there's a lot of goalies that feel like, especially in the 80s, that kind of got by on. If you look at their numbers, they're really not that great. Again, the errors are different. I understand that, but I'm going to stick with a forward here. And if you're an old hockey fan, or more in Snail and I's era, Dave Andreychuk, I think was again.
I did not see that one coming.
Hall of Famer, but loaded up on power play goals. And again, in the box score, all goals count the same. But if you're looking at, like compared to 5-on-5, Andreychuk definitely loaded up on power play goals. Another name that I'm going to say that I think is going to get, this is a more recent name, and people are definitely going to probably get, if they listen to this, fired up about this. I'm going to say Marty St. Louis.
Oh, I was thinking of him. I was literally thinking of him.
Again, not by any means a bad player. I just think that he was a little overrated for the way he's talked about. And there's one other one that I think it really sticks out that I think angers a lot of people. And it drives me crazy the more I think about it. It's going to drive me even crazier when he gets into the Hall of Fame. It's Jonathan Toews.
Dude, another one that came to mind as well.
If you look at if you look starting at that Chicago dynasty, Kane was the best player. Keith might have been the most important player.
Hossa
was more important than Toews. The only reason Toews got that is because he was drafted a little bit earlier than Kane, wore the C, and was there for the cup runs. Seabrook, I think, was more important. Crawford, in the long run, I think, was more important. Hossa might have been the best player on that team. He was.
I think he was.
Yeah, Hossa was a generational player. Gets hate in Pittsburgh because of how things shook out. But I'm a Marian Hossa stan. Kane, as much as you may not like him as a person, was definitely 1A or 1B to 1A of Hossa on that team. He'll end statistically better than anybody on that team. But for me, it's Toews, St. Louis, and Andreychuk. Again, you don't think of three, but those are just three names that really popped into my mind right away.
Great list. Andreychuk, I didn't see that one coming, but I literally in my head, I was thinking Marty St. Louis almost at the exact same time you said it. And then Toews as well. I've struggled it. I hate how they call him the modern day Messier. When I'm like, is it because he's just as grumpy all the time? Messier was like an unbelievable talent. Like,
yeah.
For me, it's the Sundin brothers.
Sedin?
The Sedin brothers.
Sedins or Sundin? Are you going for?
No, not Matt's. I'm talking about
Henrik
and Daniel. I've always thought they were a little bit overhyped and overrated. I think it's cool that they drafted twins or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean they had to go through all kind of hoops to make that happen. I mean it's fine.
But as far as players and stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. They just never really did it for me, and I always thought they were a little bit overhyped. And the other guy that I was thinking of too is Morgan Riley on the Leafs.
Yeah, I was going for more like guys that are like Hall of Fame level. And
okay, Hall of Fame level.
I mean, Morgan Riley, I think Morgan Riley's fine. Obviously, Leafs fans pump him up because of who he is. Because obviously he's in Toronto, he's got to be this all-time great defenseman, blah, blah, blah. So I don't really put much faith in anything that anybody in Toronto says, fans or media, because they're all idiots anyway. So
I got one for you. What about Joe Nieuwendyk?
I see the argument. I think that he's probably slightly overrated. I don't think he's I think he's more properly properly rated. I think, but yeah, I can see the argument for it though, for sure.
Yeah, Joe Newendike came to mind, and is
Jeremy
there
Roenick comes to mind?
Really? I
Yeah,
thought JR was a reach to get into the Hall of Fame.
That's fair. That's why again, he didn't get in. I still think as long as Alex Mogilny's not in, I think there's a lot of guys that are getting the Hall of Fame over him that maybe they're just overrated in my mind because that Mogilny should be in, and it's quite obvious there's some kind of bias, anti-Russian bias that's going on in this situation.
I think that's 100% the case. The Ruskies, they don't like him. Is there an argument for Erik Karlsson being overrated? If he wasn't wearing a Penguins jersey,
I'm still going to say no. I just think if you look at his track record, if you're looking at strictly as a defenseman, then yes. But what he's done talent-wise, I think we're going to look back on his career in 10 years after it's over, and he's have done stuff that you're just not going to see a defenseman do for a very long time.
Yeah, he has a sick highlight reel. I just see a lot of people outraged over Karlsson, saying he's overhyped. He's a fourth forward out there, and it's like,
I mean, that's what defensemen are this day. Though
that's what Bobby Orr was.
Makar is an offensive defenseman. I'll say even Chara. I think in the later stages of his career, he was overrated. He was
absolutely.
He was just bigger than everybody else. I won't even say it was the later stage of his career. I think there was a good chunk of his career where he was just bigger than everyone, and that gave him just such an advantage. He's slightly overrated in my mind.
Agreed. I will agree with you on Chara as well. That's a good one too. He was effective and he was big and he'll beat you up, but let's look at that plus minus. I don't know.
Let's take 6 inches off his height.
Yeah, and then what is he?
Yeah.
So I think those are pretty good lists. I like your list better than mine. Marty St. Louis, I tripped out when you said that because I was like, people would get mad about that. There are some Marty Louis stands.
Oh yeah. If this falls on
Quebec's ears,
if this gets to the ears of a Canadiens fan or anybody that like a Rangers fan or a Lightning fan, they're definitely going to be very, very angry. So yeah, it does not surprise me that that people would be mad about that.
Agreed.
All right. Moving on here again, all questions from Brian this week. Who is a player that played for one of your favorite teams that you still can't believe? For Brian, says it was Tom Brady coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Did not realize Brian was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan.
I know.
I'm sure for Buccaneers fans that was quite a twist. But yes, I know who you got here.
They became relevant and they won a Super Bowl of all things. So
yeah.
So for me, the first one would have to be this is pretty much mainly hockey. I can't remember another sports team where like a favorite player of mine came to that team. Plenty of the other way where one of my favorite players go to other teams, but Jerome McGinley coming to Pittsburgh. I've said that on here so many times.
That was gonna be mine because it just
that was amazing. And like with the golden goal and all that hype and just Jerome being out west here, a little more coverage of Jerome. I remember having his hockey card back when I was in grade school. Just unreal to see him come here or come to Pittsburgh. And then the next one for me, that the prominent one, was when Phil Kessel got traded to Pittsburgh. I was a Kessel fan. I was, it's part of my origin story is I actually used to kind of like the Leafs. They were kind of my like side piece team when it was Phil Kessel, Bozak, and Versteeg. That was their like first line. Morgan Riley was their big their big like up and coming guy on defense. So I hate on the Leafs, but I actually used to I have pictures of myself wearing a Leafs hat every once in a while. And then when I found out he got traded to Pittsburgh, I think I might have been the first person to order his jersey. I think I really was. I remember waking up, seeing the news on my phone, and I had to customize the jersey. I had to put 8-1 Kessel on it because they didn't have them in stock yet, and it took 3 months to get my jersey. But I might have also owned the first Phil Kessel Penguins jersey. So that was it for me. What about you, Robbie?
Kessel and Iginla were two that definitely come to mind very quickly. Erik Karlsson, I think, has to be on that list too.
Oh, for sure.
Not one that you really expected. And I'm going to, just because it's still, I mean, again, it's been a while, I'm going to say Sidney Crosby. I mean, how lucky can you consider yourself that you ended up getting to cheer for Sidney Crosby for 20 plus years?
Dude, unreal.
That, I mean, obviously not a trade, but the Kessel one is mind-blowing because of how it happened.
Dude, yeah.
Actually, it was probably a little less mind-blowing than the Iginla one because we all thought Iginla was going to Boston.
Yep.
Literally, like, hours before they're just like, oh, by the way, he's going to Pittsburgh instead.
Wasn't there, like, an article that came out and they're like, I think, like, Iginla purchased a home in the Boston area, so he's, like, going there?
I don't know about that, but I do remember just, like, going to bed that night thinking that, well, Boston got him. That sucks. And then waking up the next morning and finding out that it was actually Pittsburgh that swooped in at the last minute and was able to acquire him. The Kessel one, yeah, that one was weird too because it's just like you knew there was rumblings. Like they're trying to shop Kessel. Could the Penguins be in the market? And then on July 1st, like the day of free agency, when you expect all these moves to come down, all these free agents to sign, Bob McKenzie just treats out Kessel to Pitt, done deal or something like that. And that was that. That one was at the time because like you weren't quite sure what direction the Penguins were heading. They still had Mike Sullivan wasn't there at that point. Mike Johnson was still the head coach, and you just weren't quite sure what the direction of the team was. But that coming down was pretty exciting for sure to have Phil Kessel in Pittsburgh. Crazy day.
It was insane. I just remember waking up and I had the NHL app on my old iPhone, and it was 3 hours later here, and I just remember being like, oh my God, I do this on NHL 2014 and 15. I would do that trade all the time. Not obviously. Yeah. I would get Kessel to the Penguins, and I was like, it's happening. And what a day that was. Robbie, I'm surprised that you haven't mentioned, like you mentioned Sidney Crosby, you mentioned Karlsson, Iginla. As a Pittsburgh resident, you haven't mentioned Russell Wilson yet.
Oh yeah, Russell. Yeah, didn't think about Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh. Yeah,
you didn't think about him being on the Steelers.
I'm more baffled by Justin Fields than Russell Wilson. Let's put it that way.
Fair. Are you excited for whatever the antics he starts to do over there? Do you have high hopes? I mean, for Wilson?
I've followed Russell Wilson long enough to be completely prepared for any cornball stuff that's thrown my. It's his personality. It's who he is. He'll hawk about any product. He'll do his rah-rah. If he comes out and performs, I literally don't care at all. I guess that's probably the same with any player. Like, I literally don't care how you act as long as it's legal and you perform well. Again, the act, if they struggle, the act will get tired. But I've been a Justin Fields stan since his days in college. So if Wilson can't produce, then give me Justin Fields and I'll be happy.
Right on. All right, so we're gonna move on here. That was a great question again by Brian. I could talk about this stuff forever.
Yep. Yeah.
So it says here, so Saturday was my birthday and I expected it to come with a Crosby extension announced. That clearly didn't happen, but I'm not worried. I'd imagine at the beginning of camp it'll come. Also seen a story about Sid where he got $87.87 in Canadian currency, in gas. And the guy is superstitious to the max. So belated happy birthday to our pal Brian.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Happy birthday! A few days later here. If the gas story is correct, then Crosby may be more of a psycho than I understood.
Dude, it's hard to stop the pump. Oh, I guess he probably prepaid. But
Yeah.
have you ever
Yeah.
like tried to stop the pump at a certain number? It's like doing a slot machine.
Yeah, and actually, the more expensive gas is, the harder it is to stop because it ticks faster. But could you imagine if it would have gone? He would try that and got like 87, 88. He probably would have been so mad. He probably would have
Probably.
tried to like siphon the gas out of his tank.
Yeah, you see him with like a hose, just like trying to get it out.
Yeah, yeah, it's some like random gas station in Cole Harbor, Nova Scotia. But no Crosby
I think he lives in
extension
Halifax.
yet. Still waiting. Camp. I don't know if they announced the exact start of camp yet. I'm assuming it's probably mid-ish September. Usually, when it is, it's usually on a Friday or something like that. And it's been kind of radio silence from all sides now. It's just more or less the only thing I've heard is he's just waiting to. He just wants to focus on training. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. Taylor Haas of DK Pittsburgh Sports basically said August 7th was always arbitrary. It was a made-up target by fans. There was no indication from the Penguins or Crosby that that date had any significance in terms of signing a contract. And she thinks it's more likely closer to camp that he signs anyway. So that's really all that we really have on that right now. But it would have been cool to get it on your birthday, but unfortunately, not the case, and we still wait for the next steps.
Yeah, I think maybe Evgeny Kuznetsov signed with SKA on his birthday, so
yeah. Yeah. All right, moving right along here. What do you think happens with the man they call Dragon? That, of course, would be Marcus Pettersson. He's also due for a new contract after next season. He's an important piece on defense, but could see him being moved at the deadline for more prospects / picks to further the Dubas plan of stockpiling youth.
If the Penguins are out of the playoffs, they're trading him at the deadline, I would imagine, to a contender for he'll go for a first-round pick plus, I think. The defense market for solid defensemen at the trade deadline is always pretty good. You get a pretty good return for that. He would make a great, I mean, he's a first pair left shot kind of shut down D-man. He could, if a contender's looking to make a deep run, you could see him going, he could be, if they had him at as a third pair or even a second, that's pretty solid. He's a pretty good defenseman. So, if they're in the playoffs, he stays put. As far as a contract goes, I don't know if I see them. Would it be a Dubas-esque move to let him go?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it all depends on what the ultimate long-term goal is. If it's to compete, then I think you have to sign him. I think he can still, again, he's going to get a pay raise, but I still think he can be had for a decent price. But I guess we'll just see what the long-term plan is, because if they are out of the playoff picture by the trade deadline, I think he could easily be traded for a huge return. A huge return.
Yeah, a healthy return for sure. So I don't know. Would I like to see Pettersson stay in Pittsburgh? I think I would. He's actually like matured nicely into like a solid Dumoulin replacement. Doesn't make a ton of mistakes out there. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him stay, but this youth movement that Dubas has been talking about, he might be one of those players like a Gensel. Like if you want to compete, like Robbie said, if you want to compete, you keep a guy like that, but the return might be juicy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see here. Question here says, how do you think the Senators will be this year now that they have Linus Ullmark? My take may be a little hot. And is Ullmark good? Yes, I just don't see his play being much different than what it was while he was in Buffalo.
The Senators are now entering that realm of, you got to prove it to me. I got to see the results. Enough of this, this talk about how good they are, how this is their year. Kind of like a Tampa Bay-esque in the middle of the 2010s. Yeah, great team, but you got to show it to me. You got to, and they did. Took him a little longer than probably anticipated, but you got to show it to me. Ottawa, you're kind of in that same boat now. Listen, you can sign all these guys. You can have Brady Tkachuk. You can have Linus Ullmark in goal, all great players. But at some point, the standings have to show the results of the process, and it's as simple as that. So until I see that, great team on paper, should be super exciting to watch, should be fun to watch. But until they're in the playoffs, I can't put too much faith in them being the breakthrough team until I see them playing in April.
I think they might be good. I agree with you. They have to like kind of, they need to show up. But yeah. I think goaltending was the bane of their existence last year. I think that they had some crazy statistic where the first shot they faced went in the net more than like some insane percent. So when you're getting one shot on goal and you're already down, that's, I think goaltending.
Oh yeah, that's tough. It's tough to come back from that. Absolutely.
And I think when you've been in the rut like they've been in for so long, it's probably just harder. It's mentally harder to dig yourself out of that every day, every single game or every other game or however often it was. So, but you got to trust that Brady Tkachuk he's got the DNA to. That guy wants to win, and that guy shows up, man. Like, that guy can score. He's not as skilled as Matthew, but he can finish. He's got hands, and he'll beat you up too. So,
he's absolutely like his brother. There's no doubt about that.
Would you trade an arm and a leg for Brady Tkachuk?
Honestly, I would consider moving significant pieces for a player like Brady Tkachuk. We're talking about again, you're never going to just replace Crosby 1-for-1, but you're talking about extending your window now and completely changing the timeline of your rebuild, completely flipping your rebuild on its head immediately with one move.
I would trade significant pieces and a lot of off the books money to get Brady Tkachuk in a Penguins sweater.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even hesitate. Look at the trade that Florida made for Matthew. They traded
Huberdeau
100-point
man,
a franchise icon at that point, basically. And was it Mangia? No, who else? Who was the defenseman they traded? Was it Mangiapane?
No, it's the Canadian. I think he's from Ottawa. It's not Huberdeau and this is gonna drive me crazy. Mackenzie Weegar.
Yeah, Weegar.
Great defenseman too.
Yeah, they were two very when that trade was made. My initial reaction was like, okay, man, Matthew Tkachuk's really good, but Huberdeau just ripped off 100 points. Weegar looks like a franchise defenseman.
Right shot. He can fight. He can score. I think he had he was climbing up close to 20 tucks last year or something crazy like that. But Robbie, okay, I'm who's the GM in Ottawa? What's that goofball's name?
Honestly, don't know right now. Dorian? No,
Dorian. Yes.
I think he got fired.
Pierre?
Maybe not. I don't know.
All right. You're Kyle Dubas. I call you. We want Letang Letang. We want Letang, and we want that. What's his name? We want Letang and Graves for Brady Tkachuk, and throw in Sam Poulin.
Well, yeah, that would be again, they're not trading a potential franchise player for a bad defenseman, an aging defenseman, and a prospect that is barely a prospect anymore. They're not making that deal. I would say it's going to take significant assets, as in Owen Pickering, possibly Braden Yeager, and I'd say multiple first-round picks.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines. but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's just my thought. No.
All right.
All right. Next question up here is, I don't think I ever mentioned it, but I did cut my hair at the beginning of June. Don't worry, I'm still a flow bro. It's already grown back enough to do a small top ponytail. So Brian goes with the man.
Knot.
He goes with the man bun.
Not surprised. It's nice to get the hair off the neck. I need to get a haircut really bad. My mullet grew out. You probably can't see, but it's growing out too long on the sides. I got these little wings, and then I've got it. I was working earlier, so I tied up the back and a little ponytail tucked up into my hat. So, dude, it's hot in the summertime. It's hot having all that hair on your neck. And if you have facial hair like me too, it's just kind of warm and itchy. Gotta trim it up every once in a while. So I get it. I know where you're at, Brian. I've been there. I'm there right now. All right. Question for Robbie here is, Brian says, yeah, Robbie, right about the po' boys. When I was in Florida, I had one that was alligator as the protein, but around here it's usually shrimp.
Yeah, so when I was in New Orleans a few years ago, alligator is massive down there. They will eat that.
They actually eat that?
It's actually good. It's not bad. Like,
what is it like comparable to? And is it literally like chicken?
It's literally like chicken. It does not taste like seafood. It tastes literally like chicken. If it pulls apart like chicken. It looks like white meat chicken.
That's crazy. I would have never guessed.
Yeah. It again, and down there it's breaded, so that it's breaded and fried. That takes a lot of the the taste and stuff away too. But no, it literally, if you pull it apart, it pulls apart like chicken. It does not taste salty or seafoody at all.
Interesting.
It's very good. I highly enjoyed it, and I highly recommend if you get a chance to taste it yourself too. It's very good, very good. But yeah, shrimp is good as well. Again, anything in a bun that's fried with spices on is probably edible, and probably delicious. Like fried lobster would be good. Fried crab would be good. Again, I mean, they make.
I've had a mushroom po' boy.
I'm sure that's absolutely excellent.
It is.
I'm sure it's. Were the mushrooms fried?
Oh yeah, breaded and fried.
I mean, breaded and fried. Fried cauliflower would be good too. Do you like? Are you a mushroom fan? Like, do you like?
Oh
mushrooms?
Yeah. I love mushrooms.
I love mushrooms. Not so much raw. I like them cooked.
Yeah.
Like sautéed or fried, like you said. I love mushrooms. Are you a person that goes out in the woods and tries to find mushrooms?
No, like
nervous.
It would make me nervous too. Like, I feel like even if I did really well or whatever, I'd be still too paranoid to eat them. Because I don't know about out there, but out here there are mushrooms that are edible. A lot of mushroom hunters in the Pacific Northwest, but there are ones that almost look identical that are like super deadly. And you just have to be like an expert, and you have to really just know what you're looking for. You can look at, I don't even know if it was within reach, I'd show you. I actually have a mushroom hunter's guide out here in the Pacific Northwest. You can pick those up at all sorts of places. You can find these mushroom hunter guides. And yeah, there are some that look super close, and they're just like, this is like the tiniest difference about this mushroom to this one that makes this one edible and this one deadly. It would be cool to know that though.
Yeah, so there's mushroom hunters in our area too. I'm not an expert at it. I don't know what to look for, but there are certain types of mushrooms that are very healthy, like good to eat. Morels,
is it called chicken of the woods?
That's one of them. Morels are another popular one that they put in.
Oh, I know out in Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, right there where the like Maryland is. I know a guy out there, and he has like morels on his big property, and he always is posting them on social media. Like, and I mean, those are good eating too.
Yeah, restaurants, especially your farm to table restaurants here, will kill to buy those and use them during usually spring is when they're most popular. But yeah, there's some mushrooms that completely fine to eat. There's other that will literally, if you put them in your body, you're dead within like 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's worse than it'll kill you faster than like a snake or a deadly spider.
Absolutely. It's you'd rather you have a better chance of surviving getting bit by like a cobra. These mushrooms will end you right away. Yeah, and it's not like a silent death either. It's like your innards are going to boil if you eat these. So,
your innards boil, and like you'll be just like it's like probably one of the most miserable deaths you could ever have. Yeah. So insane that it's insane that there's just like that much of like range between mushrooms where like some of people are it's like a delicacy and you love to eat them, and then there's like a mushroom that might grow in the same area that would literally turn you inside out.
Absolutely. All right, wrapping it up this week. This is going back to last week's episode as well. And Brian says, I can't believe you didn't know Casper Meets Wendy. That movie still rocks today. Funny story. One time I was at a game when Hillary Duff was still married to Mike Comrie, and I found out she was in the building. I went on a frantic search to try to meet her.
He was removed from the building that night.
He probably was definitely arrested, yes.
He wasn't just removed. He was arrested. He was cuffed at the Mellon Arena. Or would that have been at PPG?
That would have been at PPG Paints Arena.
He was actually arrested at PPG Paints Arena
Brian cannot go to games anymore. He is banned from PPG. He's just not telling us that.
He's not allowed them. He's just yelling like, Wendy. But like, I think if we all, I mean, how many times do you think, I know that Comrie wasn't the same level of as Travis Kelce, but you got to think that Hillary dating a Penguin was a good publicity for the Penguins at the time.
It was. I remember when he signed, and like it was like people were talking about that, like especially people my age, because again we grew up with Hillary Duff as a Disney star, Lizzie McGuire. So yeah, it was like a real thing that people talked about. I'm trying to think, wasn't there somebody else like with Russell Wilson? Sierra is like,
oh, that was a funny one. He like Sierra, left his high school sweetheart. There's like the video of
weird story. Yes, the video when he got drafted. Yeah,
and then he's just
exactly
like
what you're talking about.
And then he just ditches her for Sierra.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Paul Skeens and Libby Dunn.
Yeah, like, that's the big one. That's the big one that kids are talking.
That's huge. Like, especially for kids that are like what our age would have been when Hillary Duff came to Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
Like, again, I was literally at the grocery store one day, and there was a cardboard cutout of her sponsoring whatever energy drink she sponsors with Travis Kelce. Like, it was them two on the, and like Travis Kelce obviously is obviously, and again, Kansas City Chiefs fans are kind of going through that all right now as well. It's really, but the Hillary Duff thing was an actual talking point when Mike Comrie came to Pittsburgh, because like she was Lizzie McGuire and like still not on Disney at that point, but still extremely famous and popular. So, and again, Nashville fans had that with like Carrie Underwood and Mike Fisher. It's kind of a weird pop culture thing when that happens, and so it's definitely something that people talked about. I do remember that when she came to Pittsburgh, and it's nice to know that Brian tried to stalk her.
Yeah, he's still to this day trying to, probably. That's why he delivers mail. He actually was looking for their address, and then he just said, I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm going to see if I can get a route with some gated communities and see if I can find Hillary and Comrie's mansion.
It's very funny that he said that, because I don't know, it's just very
funny. How are we not going to rip on that? Dude, I gotta say, we're done with questions. Thank you, Brian. But we talked a little bit about fall. What kind of the unofficial official start of fall for me is when kids are going back to school. When you start to see school buses out and about in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's over. Summer's over. It's campus. I think it's kind of like there's summer, and then there's like they I think the word is literally campusy, like movies that take place like in the like beginning of school type, that little window between in September where it's not quite orange out yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
twilight of the summer.
Yeah.
So I noticed the NFL preseason started.
It did. That's one of the signs as well. Yep.
Yep, when you start hearing those football announcers and you start seeing football on TV again, you know it's coming.
Yeah, that high school sports have started practicing.
Yep.
They start actual games like next weekend.
Yeah, they're selling t-shirts down at our local drugstore right now for the local high school football team. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I live in this weird little city, and it's in between a bigger city and like another kind of smaller but bigger city, and those are just like massive condos, pretty like high end, nice. And then I live in this little city that's you can literally, it's legal to ride horses on the road here. And like, nice. I remember there's one little store in our town, and it's an old hay and feed store. And it's just a corner store that sells like minimal groceries and like sodas and beers and cigarettes. And I saw there's a kid, this kid was probably like 12 years old. He's riding a crotch rocket, and he pulls up to this store, and he picks up a 6-pack of Mountain Dew in the cans, puts it in his backpack, and just peels out. Like, I live in like a more yeehaw, interesting little stuck in time town. But yeah, it's like, I swear, we don't do the high school sports things on TV out here. It's not like out in the rest of the country. But if this town had its own TV station, it would. Like, they sell merch of the high school at the local drugstore, and a lot of town pride here. So it's in your face here, dude. It's the season is changing. Like you said, what is it? I mean, it's the 12th of August, man. Before you know it, we're going to blink, and it's going to be, there's going to be camp starting up before you know it.
Absolutely. I mean,
where are you at with football this year? Like, are you optimistic for your Steelers?
Honestly, for the first time in a while, yeah, I am. Again, I might.
You just cursed it.
Oh yeah, I absolutely know that I'll regret that come like my birthday, but like, yeah, I mean, I am more so than I have been. I feel like they've made some. Again, there's no guarantee that any of the quarterbacks work out. Obviously, a lot relies on that. But for once, I am significantly like amped up and optimistic for this to go down. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Seahawks do as well. I'm not a huge Seahawk fan. I've actually kind of started to, it actually kind of sucks because I remember when I first came on, we talked about football, and I was like, I hate Russell Wilson. I'm so glad he's gone. I hate the Seahawks for a long time. I'm actually kind of excited to watch him again. And I was like, I'm going to start watching some Pittsburgh games. And I did last year, tuned into the Steelers a little bit more. And now my least favorite player that's probably in the league right now is on the Steelers. I can't get away from him.
Yeah, that's funny how that always happens. When your least favorite player ends up on a team that you maybe show interest in, but you just can't give in because you just hate him that much. I don't.
No, you can't. You can't get away from it. So, as far as the Steelers go, like, have you been a Steelers fan your whole life, like unwavering? Have you ever like? Is it blasphemy to like the Eagles?
Not. I mean. They're different conferences. There's no real rivalry there.
Really? There's no rivalry
really.
When they play?
I mean, it's more of a city rivalry rather than a team rivalry. Yeah, it's just not as...
So not like Penguins Flyers?
Not at all.
That's kind of weak. You'd hope...
Not at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's more like we don't want to lose to Philadelphia, but the Eagles, whatever. It's the Eagles.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So do you watch preseason games?
I usually watch to see how the starters play, and then I kind of tune out.
You won't sit down and actually watch a whole preseason game?
Gotta be pretty darn bored.
Gotta be pretty bored. What about college football?
Oh, I love college football.
Oh, you do? Have you been playing the new NCAA game?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
How is that going? Who are you the coach of right now?
I'm Penn State, where that's my favorite team.
Because you went there, Nittany Lions.
Yeah. Yep.
Why do they call them the Nittany Lions if it's Penn State?
So they're used to, in the area where the school is, there used to be wild mountain lions, and the mountaintop that overlooks the town is called Mount Nittany, and the lions kind of got their name from that.
Oh, so it's like a Nittany lion.
Yeah.
So it's
basically a cougar.
It's like a regional cougar of your guys's.
Yes.
So it's the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Correct.
Oh, I always thought it was like, is that just like a weird nickname that like Garrett always would say to you?
Nope.
You always say Penn State. He would always say Nittany Lions.
I just say Penn State because most people associate that right away. So.
Right on. Well, yeah, it's summertime. It's not fall yet, but things are ramping up that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a summer person, enjoy it because we're running out. It's fleeting. The clock's running. It's very fleeting. The clock is running. The clock is ticking very quickly on you. So I'm a fall fan.
Me too,
just
man.
In general.
Best time of year.
Best time of year. So if you're a summer fan, enjoy these final waning days. I am ramping up for spring in the worst way.
Robbie, there's nothing better than that first day you can throw on a sweatshirt, a hoodie.
Absolutely. And again,
and you don't have to take it off in the middle of the day. You know you're wearing that hoodie all from morning till 9 p.m. when you tuck yourself in.
Yep. And again, it's nice right now. This morning was like 58 degrees.
Nice.
Which I walked outside and I'm like, this feels like fall.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite jacket to work yet.
No, and it won't be there. It won't be there for a little bit.
That 58 was going to last like maybe a half an hour.
Yeah, 25 more minutes.
Once the sun gets over the ridge, it's going to start heating up pretty quick. So.
Oh yeah, I'm romantic about fall, man. Like I love a morning when you first go out and it's you get the morning dew on the grass. You're like, it's here, it's coming, and then you got to wear a sweatshirt. But then you always got to take it off around noon because it starts to get a little bit too warm. The sun comes out, burns off the clouds. Then one day it hits, and you're just like, I'm having chili tonight. I'm making soup. I'm going to buy soup tonight, and I'm going to wear a hooded sweatshirt. And this weekend, I'm going to watch football. I'm going to watch hockey. It's just I can't wait for that stuff. So
absolutely. Agreed.
That's where we're at mentally, but appreciate the questions, Brian. Thank you all for listening. You got anything else, Robbie?
I got nothing.
I got nothing as well.
Later this week, we have more questions to go through, so we'll get to those. But other than that, I got nothing.
I got nothing either.
All right. So for Snail, I am Robbie. We will talk to you guys later this week. Thanks as always for tuning in.